When I think of great heroes from the Trojan War, I rarely think of the Aeneas, or those under Aeneas, also known as the Dardanians. Now, Aeneas is an absolutely amazing character here that just cannot be ignored. That's why I decided to make this my first official lore video here in the game. Some interesting facts about Aeneas is he is the son of Aphrodite, directly descended from a god. He's also the cousin of Priam, and because of that, also the cousin of Hector and of Paris. So you might not like that he's friends with sort of who you could claim started the war itself, of course, taking Helen. But this guy is so valuable in the game, and just so valuable to history as a whole. In fact, there are some that say that Aeneas, not Romulus and Remus, started Rome. In fact, after the Trojan War, the legends say that Aeneas left Troy, went around Greece, and landed over here in Italy, slowly making his way to Rome and becoming the ruler. But let's jump in and take a look at his playstyle, his units, and what to do when you're playing as the Aeneas. Achilles is another character that's often mentioned in the legends of the Iliad, of course, and really gains the favor of the gods. But I have to say, Aeneas, which apparently I've been saying wrong this entire time, is actually the most direct of any of the characters in the story in terms of his connection
Aeneas
to the
the
gods.
Dardanian.
Aeneas is connected to Aphrodite. He's a direct son of Aphrodite herself, the goddess of love, but trust me that the goddess of love is certainly capable of dishing out some pretty serious damage. And one thing about Aeneas, he's extremely fast, and his units are built amongst that speed, essentially. So the way it works with Aeneas' units, he's using Anatolian swords. I want to find the other unit that he uses, which is an upgraded sword unit. And despite this, of course, being 1500 BC, this sword went well into 500 BC. I believe it's an iron sword. So definitely a short sword, an iron short sword. Definitely something of value well into history. Now, the thing about Aeneas is he's got a little bit of a weird ability here that you can use in the game. And that ability is Aeneas can talk to the dead. Yeah, it's kind of creepy. Now, you might think that, people during this time period would be more open-minded, but unfortunately, even during the time of the Trojan War, people were not very happy with those that spoke to the dead. Now, Aeneas doesn't just speak to any dead people, he specifically speaks to heroes, to gods, to demigods, etc. He's got the most direct connection to Zeus, to all the gods, essentially. But Aeneas, of course, comes with his positives and his negatives. One thing I've really noticed about the armies of Aeneas here is that you absolutely have to be quick with your attacks. And the reason being is this. We've got these armies, we've got these units right here, these axe chargers. Now, Aeneas' army has a lot of these sort of heavy units, but very light. I hate to use the term glass cannon when I'm talking about a melee unit, but they really are kind of like glass cannons. They've got very poor defense, very high attack. And what you're supposed to do, from my understanding with Aeneas' army, is you're supposed to take the shield units, move them up, engage the enemy, and then bring up your heavier units to finish off the job. Often I try to do a flank attack to make that happen. But if we just look over here to the Divine Will screen of Aeneas, pretty standard, just like any of the other characters in the game. This kind of does annoy me a bit because with that ability to talk to the dead, I feel like he should get a little bit of a boost, at least with Aphrodite up here. But maybe that's just me. Now we're looking at the Stygian Voices ability here of Aeneas, and this is just fascinating. So we can actually speak with the ghost of a dead hero, of course. Here we could speak with Dardanians. Dardanus, excuse me. I'm actually not too sure who these guys are. I know that Dardanus is a hero, and we can speak with Ilus, again, a dead hero. And over time, you're going to unlock Jason from Jason and the Argonauts, Daedalus, even Orpheus. It's just amazing, all of these different people that you can talk to as Aeneas. So, of course, getting the favor not just of the gods, like standard heroes, but you're also getting the favor of old heroes. And this can be very valuable, I do believe. So again, much like Achilles, he's got a very strong destiny with the gods for sure. But unlike Achilles, he actually survives the Trojan War to the very end. And like I said in the beginning of this video, is rumored to have started the great city of Rome. Now, is that accurate? Probably not. In fact, the entire Trojan War probably never occurred, but assuming it did, we're looking at it from that perspective. Now, Aeneas' biggest enemy is Merops, king of the north. You might think that Troy is entirely under the rule of King Priam, but much like Greece at this time period, Troy is an amalgamation of all sorts of different groups. So we've got enemies to the north, and that's who we're facing right now in this battle. If you're a fan of missile units, or if you're a fan of a spear line approach, this is not going to be the proper army for you. I'm trying to think of like what army I should compare this with the most, and I hate to say it, but Skaven. Yeah, Skaven. Pretty much, because you've got these very, very cheap, inexpensive light units that kind of get into the combat with the enemy, and then of course we follow up with our heavier units, our axe chargers, and get behind the enemy. What I try to do in most of these Total War battles, and I'm not going to be going through the whole one, but I try to get over here on each side, get ready to ambush with some units, and I'm going to show you guys just the first attack with Aeneas and usually how it works. Again, we need to be quick. We need to take down the enemy just as fast as possible. We're going to be going for just a very standard attack here, right up the middle, and hopefully you can see the quick combat of these units. We'll be bringing Aeneas in as well, but as you can see, very little in terms of missile units or anything like that. We do have a few Javelineers, but these Javelineers are actually also close combat units. They can get into the fight pretty damn quickly. And sorry, note, these are standard Javelineers, but there are units in the Dardanian lines that that basically will throw javelins and then get into fighting. And what does that remind you of? It reminds me of the Hoplites. It reminds me of Roman combat, so throwing the pilum and then going in for the charge. And that's quite similar to the army that we're dealing with here. The army of the Dardanians. So here we go. We've got all of our standard units getting in there ready to fight. And like I said, mostly light units with, of course, the exception of the axe chargers. And I'm going to try to keep them back or just power attack with them into one of these enemy lines and hopefully do some damage that way. I'm also going to start moving forward over here. And again, if you value speed, you're not going to be getting much in terms of cavalry until late stages where you'll get some chariots. But Aeneas is amazing when it comes to speed. I mean, this is a fast army. They are quick. So if you want something really quick, really aggressive, this is definitely one I would recommend. And there we go. Our axe chargers are already in there. They should not be the ones going first, so I messed up a little bit there. It just means we need to be a little bit faster with our flank attacks. So I'm immediately moving in there with those flank attacks. But you could see our units moving in. And these shield units are not really a proper example of Aenean units or Dardanian units, whatever you want to call them, because again, we really should be attacking first with just the standard club units, and then move in with shield units and heavier units after. But we're still going to try to make up for it. We're also going to try to take a look at Aeneas in combat here. And of course, much like any of the units here, you can build him up yourself in terms of his skills. But the March of Hermes is an ability he gets right away, which just boosts that speed way up so he can get into battle really, really quickly here. And we are starting to rally. But again, it's because these forces, the Dardanians, are very fast, very energetic, sort of like shock troops. If you can just get in quickly and attack, you very well may win the fight. I do want to warn you, though, these guys, their morale is not good. That's probably another negative I should have added for the Dardanians, is just for whatever reason, their morale isn't that great. You almost always need Aeneas to be there with them, assisting them, helping them, and fighting alongside them, because they're just not going to do very well on their own. And there we go. Aeneas is in the fight. He just smashed someone aside with his shield. We're not getting to see his up-close and personal, quick, versatile combat, but you can see that he immediately brought the morale up to the men here. He really is one of those leaders, unlike a few I could do some videos on, that is truly respected by his men, really to a great degree. Another thing about Aeneas that I just really love, and I think will more or less be sort of the conclusion here, is that, you know, much like I called my channel after Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa, Agrippa's big thing was he was extremely loyal, and in the meritocratic system that that was created by Octavian, he actually had a chance to kind of rise up to the top. Now, unlike Agrippa, Aeneas was already favored by the gods. He was from one of the wealthiest families in Turkey at the time. Of course, we knew it back then as Troy. And he certainly was much wealthier, much better off than Agrippa was. But that being said, he's had a very similar story. His loyalty was unmatched. Despite the fact that he could have easily turned on his cousins and joined the Greeks, he decided to fight to the very end, and at which point he took up arms and went to Italy as quickly as he could, and from what we understand from these legends, started the Roman Empire. Well, I hope that this short overview gave you a little bit of information on Aeneas, and I do hope that you guys will be playing with him in the game in the future. Again, I consider him one of the coolest of all the characters in the Iliad, but maybe that's just me. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care. I'll catch you on the next one. For Aphrodite!